All right. Welcome to another edition, Vegas Badboyz of podcasting. I'm DJ Impact. I got the Vegas Badboyz here with me. And as everyone is slowly jumping on to our Facebook live chat, we want to welcome everyone to feel free to throw any of your comments in. And as we see fit, we will try to get them in. And it's good to be back. It's good to see you, fellas. It's been, it seems like it's been holidays and vacations and life happening. So, but we're back. It seems like we'll be here for the foreseeable future. And we're glad to be here. So a lot of things is taking place, as you can imagine. We've had all types of pay-per-view events that's happening this past weekend, even last week. We're going to try to touch base on as much as we can. But tonight, we're going to kick off with Money in the Bank. And I got to tell you, guys, let me tell you what I'm upset about. Was it just, I thought I have pretty good internet. Is my internet good, or was y'all having the same issues I was having when it came to Peacock?
Yes,
Everyone.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dude, they got to fix that. That's ridiculous. It looks bad when stuff like that happens. You know what I mean? And I get it. I know, Vince may be like, look, I don't care. I'm $2 billion richer, but still your product is going out like that. And it doesn't look good, man. I wasn't happy. Trying to figure out what's going on, turning my TV off, turning it back on. Is this my internet? Is it not my internet?
So
what's happening?
How long were you affected? Because for me, it only happened for about 5 minutes, if that.
Oof. Yeah.
I was longer for me. I was probably close to about 10 to 15 minutes.
Oh, yeah. Mine was even longer.
Yeah.
Mine was 30 minutes. And it pissed me off because earlier, me and my son watched Boss Baby 2. Shit was perfect.
That wasn't a live stream, bro.
I'm just saying, the shit shouldn't fuck up.
I missed, I'd say, the first 10 minutes of the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. Right. Not to mention all of the entrances. So
right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what's going on with them. They got to do something, man. It's bad enough that.
How much you paying a month? How much you paying a month?
I don't give a fuck how much I pay them up. The bottom line, I'm paying, and they should have that fixed. You know what? When we talk about later of talking about Impact Wrestling, which I ordered on Fight TV, why do they have a system that works better than a multi-billion-dollar corporation like NBC?
Well, because
no one else was watching Impact. That's why.
Yeah, exactly.
and you were the one.
And we'll get to the fact that their feed cut off also.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. Well, look, let's get right into it. Overall, they, of course, kicked off with the pre-show. And, you had the Usos versus the Mysterios. Any surprise there, man? We're having new tag team champions, SmackDown?
It was relief. That's what I felt. I felt relief. Mm-hmm. I'm happy to see that those belts are gone off of the Mysterios.
It might not last too long, though, given the interference later on. So,
yeah.
But
I think that those plans were kind of set.
Yeah, if we can get the Mysterios off our television for, what can happen? Like, can Ray lose like his third eye?
Oh, Jesus.
At least he's not going to see it coming the next time he gets thrown out of the damn ring.
Well, let's throw him off the roof of the Stanford Center again.
There you go. This time, really make sure the job's done.
Obviously, a lot of people on Twitter, immediately after the match ended, a lot of people went on there to vent their frustrations because of the things that happened outside of the ring involving one of the participants in that match. So we can only guess, as far as you mentioned, Matt Michaels, how long they're going to be holding those titles. But I think that it was set in stone for them to win the championship tonight. We'll see what happens, but yeah, it sucks when things outside of the ring overshadow the work that these guys do inside of the ring, because I thought all four of those guys put on a hell of a match.
So, oh, absolutely.
Did he outside? It was just a DUI, right?
Yeah. But as people had mentioned, it was his fourth DUI. So
he can't drive. He's just going to catch the bus. and I'm not trying to be mean or minimize DUIs to be taken seriously, but I am saying the law. He just can't drive.
Time out. Y'all are a bunch of cultured pussies out there in the internet world, because motherfuckers used to drive for fucking right after a show 19 hours from Texas to Bermuda to fucking London, and all they did was fucking drink in the cars. So fuck off, all you PC little fuckers.
Most of the truck drivers, actually, to be honest with you, most of the truck drivers drove drunk, and we never had a gas shortage problem because we didn't have shortage of gas tanker drivers like we have today.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, that's that. It kicked off with the women's Money in the Bank match. Any shock there? I mean, shout out to Alexa Bliss, right? Just how she was just hanging on the top of that ring while everyone else was coming out, and she was looking pretty scary. You know, and even what she did on the top of the ladder with Zelina using her magic, I thought that was really awesome too. Yeah, I mean, just good work overall with what they're doing with her and overall. But let's be real. Was everyone shocked at the outcome of who? Yep. That's right. Nikki ASH. Go ahead, Simon Street.
No. I'm just laughing because I'm watching this, with somebody, and I went ahead and say what the ASH stood for and realized as I was explaining how fucking ridiculous that is. But yes, her winning that is big ass question mark above my head.
Yeah, because let me ask you, Matt Michaels, and didn't you say maybe one of the shows that you kind of thought that she could possibly be on the chopping block, in terms of as they're figuring out what talent to get rid of? It's interesting now to see that they don't look like that's happening if they're throwing the
but that this is her opportunity to save her, that last grasp of can we get something out of her. So
yeah.
And she'll probably be on Raw, to be completely honest with you, and it'll probably be her, her showing up on Raw, flashing it in front of.
She's already on Raw.
Well, I know, but I'm saying that's more likely the direction she's going for.
Well, yeah, because the whole setup was Charlotte and Rhea. Yeah, it makes sense because I don't think there was anyone in that match that would be a matchup for Bianca. So, yeah,
it definitely makes sense for sure. And initially when it happened, I was definitely caught, by surprise. But as I was thinking about it, it genuinely makes perfect sense. I think that it's been mentioned numerous times on this show, and something that we have to get through our minds and keep there is this show is not necessarily meant for us. And this particular set of circumstances is not necessarily meant for our age demographic, nor our gender demographic. Let's be real. I think that they could actually do some really great things with Nikki ASH. Nikki ASH. They really should just have her be Nikki ASH and just call it a day. Get rid of the ASH. It just doesn't flow. Anyway, obviously there's a lot of merch capability. They can really capitalize on the Nikki ASH character, and let's be honest. I mean, it could be good with her with the briefcase. My only problem is typically there's the element of surprise. And genuinely, the people with the Money in the Bank briefcase tend to be somebody that capitalize on a particular situation. Now, with the Nikki Ash character, she is almost a superhero. She's about as close to lawful good as you can get in a WWE character. So what is she going to do? Is she going to pull the old, hey, Charlotte Flair, I'm going to challenge you at this date on,
right. Yeah.
She's not going to run out after somebody's beat the hell out of Charlotte. So she's going to have to preemptively challenge. And one other thing that I did notice is that they made a huge deal out of the fact that every woman that's gotten that briefcase has cashed it in and successfully won the championship.
Yeah, exactly.
That was mentioned by every single announcer from the pre-show and onto the main show. So I think that Nikki Ash will also be the first woman to cash in the briefcase and lose her championship match. As a result of the circumstances and of the gimmick as well. But again, that could lend her to becoming even more of a babyface as she gets that sympathy.
Got you.
Well, let me ask you this question. What if necessarily she didn't even cash it in? You know, when I think of superhero personas in history, if you think about it, the one thing that villains always hold over their heads is who are you going to save? Do you see what I'm saying? What are you going to sacrifice to save the ones that you care about? So what if we see her sacrifice her, with great writing, by the way, sacrifice that opportunity to save someone's life, which is ultimately the storyline of a superhero. If they dress that up nicely, I'd like to see something like that. I don't know if they're capable of such deep writing, but we'll see.
Definitely. And I think that her perfect foil exists and was in that match, and that's freaking Alexa Bliss.
Yep. And they mentioned that very poignant.
You could easily have Alexa Bliss be her direct foil and be the villain to her superhero. It writes itself. Now, obviously, wait and see. They'll find a way to fuck it up, but whatever.
Of course, they always
got. No doubt. Let's move over because we got a lot to cover. Raw tag team titles: the Viking Raiders and AJ Styles and Omos. What's your guys' take on that? I mean,
hold on.
Huh?
Before you go with that, and I'll give it to Sensei Steve. It was pointed out that when the Viking Raiders came back, one of the gentlemen in the Viking Raiders seemed to have a bulge that was bigger than the guy on Labyrinth. I'm just pointing it out because it's weird, but I'm just saying I noticed on the rap. Y'all go back and play it. I'm just saying. I'm
not going to go back and watch this pay-per-view just to check out some dude's freaking balls.
I'm just saying, man. He was ready. He was ready. Right?
Oh, God. Oh, my God. Simon Street, you're supposed to be paying attention to the match, not the man.
I wasn't paying attention to that. It was just noticeable. I was like, bro, what match are you about to wrestle? Anyways.
Oh, my God. Okay. So with that, I mean, it wasn't bad, right? Like when on paper, it seems like I don't know if I'm really going to care about it. But watching it, it was actually really good. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah.
Got you. Yeah. Okay.
Almost looked good.
Yes, he definitely did. I will mention this, and it bears repeating. AJ Styles is 44 years old.
Did you not say I said the same fucking thing?
I just have to put that out there.
Did he look good?
He is amazing. Like, dude is putting in amazing work, and he's 44 years old. Just wow.
It doesn't seem like he's
Dare I say, he looks a hell of a lot better than other motherfuckers that came out that night, but we'll get to that later.
Well, shout out to them. I got a chance to retain those titles. A great match with that. Shout out to everyone in our chat. If you're in our chat, feel free to comment. We'll try to throw it in as we see. We see you, Michaela. We see you, Chris. I do agree with Chris. It says, based on the facial expression, Steve's kryptonite is the word bulge. So we went to kryptonite. All right. Man, the Raw WWE Championship, Bobby Lashley, Kofi Kingston. Man, what do you guys think of that? I knew Bobby was going to win that match, but it was for a minute. I thought maybe Kofi had a possibility. You guys thought overall it was a good match? Pretty good, believable?
It was actually an excellent match, and for me, the reason why I made an excellent match is what happened this prior Monday. you know, with dressing up like
Right.
Kofi getting in his head. I at first did not really get. I was like, we knew Bobby was going to beat him. We just know the trajectory, but doing it like that and Bobby second guessing himself and what led up to that made that an interesting match for me. And again, when good writing happens, it can make matches that normally would have been subpar be excellent to watch because you engage in the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And honestly, I think that having Bobby win as convincingly as they did, I think personally that needed to happen. Because it was one of those things where, you know, the character was almost at a crossroads at the end of Raw. So, you know, some of the rumors that were kicked around were involving MVP possibly turning on Bobby Lashley, you know, and then turning Kofi heel or something of that nature, which I did not want to happen. It wouldn't work whatsoever. But I was ecstatic that they had Lashley come out, look like a killer, and other than the initial flurry that Kofi launched, Bobby Lashley just tore it up and just destroyed Kofi. It needed to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It was it was very well put together there. And it was great to see Bobby being still being the beast that he is right now, holding that belt. Let's go over to Charlotte and Rhea Ripley for the Raw Women's title. What do you guys, I'm sure there was no big shock in the winner there, but the overall match though, what do you think of that?
That was one of the best matches of the night. I mean, there was a couple of good ones. That match was really, really up there. Yeah. I mean, the back and forth. And again, it was weird because I don't know how you gentlemen felt, but for a long time, I felt like that whole feud that they had, it was good that they started that feud early on to kind of build up, but I was kind of getting tired of it. But then, you know, again, Monday picked up some steam and I felt like it lended well to how this match played out. And I felt it.
Wasn't it great? Charlotte literally doing the pin and her legs is on the rope. And the ref is like, come on.
He didn't even stop. He just stopped. Was like, come on now, for real.
Right, for real. Like, I mean, it was just great. I mean, she didn't try to hide it or nothing. That was just good stuff right there. Yeah, we had that. And man, when Rhea, great job on selling. You really thought her leg got hurt when it was between that steel stairs and being kicked in 3 times. I'm like, ooh. Overall, just good. I mean, I think, you know, now Charlotte having that belt, I will definitely create that heel in her that's going to make fans just hate her. And I think we
definitely already saw saw that tonight. I mean,
whole middle finger.
Yeah, she flipped off the entire crowd so much so that Peacock censored the feed for about a second.
They did. That's what started it. That's what started the glitch for me.
Right. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome.
It was a solid match. I personally would have preferred to see Rhea Ripley win, but nonetheless, it is what it is. 48th championship reign so far for Charlotte Flair. I mean,
the question is going to be how long Charlotte is now going to hold that title. You know, right. It's going to be a long time. That's the only thing about, I guess, if you want to say the bad thing about Rhea not keeping it is knowing that we know Charlotte's going to have it for a while, you know, and I don't know who's going to be the one that's going to take it off, but I guess we'll see. Let's Nikki
Ash.
Nikki, okay. Right.
Not everybody jump up and say yay at once.
All right. So then you had the men's Money in the Bank match, and man, God, a lot of good spots in that. Kevin Owens, are you okay, man? Kevin Owens.
Kevin, are you okay? Tell us, are you okay? Yeah, definitely. That looked like it hurt.
Yeah. Like how you can't fake that. I don't know. Whatever. What's your guys' take on that particular match? First off, Big E perfect to be the one to get that case, you know. Yeah, what do you guys think on that?
Well, like you said, it was a whole bunch of high spots. I mean, definitely shout out to like Ricochet doing a lot of really good spots where I was like the first time he went over the top, he had him some damn momentum. I thought he was gonna miss some folks the first time. And then, you know, obviously when he was on top of the ladder and was pushed over by Riddle and he balanced off of there and did it, I was just like I know we've seen it before, but I enjoyed seeing it a lot.
It kind of made you question, like, why was Ricochet not having been on TV during that time he was off that long period? When you get to see just how great he is, you're reminding, like, why was he gone? I mean, he's so good.
But is he great, or can he do spots?
I think he can do spots, and I'm going to be I agree with you, Michaels, on that one, because here's the thing. You put a mic in his hand, I'm still not convinced. I don't feel any goosebumps. I don't feel any pull or draw, and that's something that he needs to figure that shit out. But as far as spots, certain people he'll wrestle. Like if he wrestles AJ Styles, great fucking match. Matt Riddle, great fucking match. But other people, I'm sorry, I'm not entertained by him going up against like a Bobby Lashley. I'm gonna be completely honest with you.
We got to see him against someone like Ali or something like that.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
You guys just really.
No, I actually want to see that. I want to see him do something with Ali.
You want to see it?
I want to see it again. I want to see it again and again.
Don't worry, Michael.
I watch it together, Michaels. Michaels, we'll watch it together. I'll bring the popcorn.
Well, yeah, so a lot of good things. I mean, Riddle, RKOs, he was right on point with that. I mean, he was hitting them really good. Like everybody was just really on their spots. And I mean, that's all I can really say about that. But shout out to Biggie and getting that. And I'm sure, man, it's gonna be great when he ended up getting that title. But I'm assuming you guys know what these so-called outcomes supposed to be for. Well, yeah, let's talk about it. I will save this question as we jump into the next match. So we got Edge and Roman now. This is for the SmackDown Universal Championship title. Man, I mean, this was absolutely a great match. I believe Roman still putting in that work. What were you guys' take on this particular match before we get to the main ending? The match itself, what was your take on it?
You want to go Sin City?
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty solid match. It was really, really slow building early, but if you take a step back and you look at the entire match as a whole, it was laid out extremely well. And there were numerous occasions where they had the crowd in the palm of their hands. These guys brought it for 33 minutes. They told an amazing story. And I think that it was exactly what we needed it to be. Obviously Seth with the interference at the end, still somewhat protected Edge. And you know, it allows for in the future, Edge to go back, if cards fall in a particular way. He could challenge for the championship again, not necessarily with Roman. But you know, it felt more like Seth taking that opportunity from him rather than Edge losing the match, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
So it definitely protected Edge. And I think that it was very solid. And what else can you say about Roman Reigns? He was born to play this heel character without question.
Absolutely. This is the right, correct crowd reaction to him when he comes out is what I love. It's perfect. Just the booing. And I mean, when he won the match, I mean, the camera spotted a certain people and they were just like pissed, like they were upset, you know, which is like, yes, that's exactly what we want. And yeah, I gotta give it to him, man. He's just, you're right, Cincinnati, this is the perfect role for him to be in. And then we get the main ending.
Oh gosh.
And I gotta tell you, okay, this guy right here.
I'm gonna tell you this.
Guy right here. And for you guys who's not able to watch the video, what I'm doing is moving my hand across my face because you can't see me.
You mean JBL in the John Cena outfit?
John Cena makes the return, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm happy to see him. I'm a Cena fan.
So you didn't watch Fast and Furious 9?
I haven't watched it, and I know he was in it, but that's not the same. Okay.
He looks better in that film. Just letting you know.
But now that makes me now go to the question I was going to ask earlier. So now that we know that SummerSlam is looking to be Roman and John Cena, who wins that, and then where does Big E? This is the reason why I'm asking, City. Where does Big E come in to take that title from that person and win?
He doesn't.
No,
he does. He goes to Raw.
Yeah.
Yeah, he beats Lashley for that championship after he dethrones, or after he slays the Beast or the Dragon or the individual that may very well show up tomorrow night on Raw or tonight on Raw, depending on when you're hearing my voice.
Exactly.
Or yesterday.
Right.
Or yesterday.
But I will say this. Let's just say if those rumors aren't true and we don't get a Beast that comes, okay? I thought about, would I be excited to see Big E be able to go up to Kofi and Xavier and say, you know what? I'm going to go at it with Bobby. I don't like what he's done. I don't like what he stands for. That part I like. But also, too, in another half, the selfish part of me really wants to see him go at it with Roman. Like, just be honest. But unfortunately, John Cena fucked that up for me tonight. But, you know.
Yeah, but if he goes
it's the money in the bank. I get it.
But if he goes up against Roman right now, he doesn't win.
I know.
Exactly.
That's why I said the selfish part.
He doesn't have to have that contract, cashed in. So,
True.
Plus, you need. Listen, you're trying to fill a stadium.
Yep, you're right.
So,
you need names.
Yeah, I mean, look, you got
maybe golden names.
Oh fuck it, just say it. Goldberg's rumored, big fucking deal. Who cares? If it happens, it happens. It doesn't.
But I'd rather have Goldberg though. I'd rather have Goldberg because at least he can fill in his shirt. Unlike John Cena, it looked like he bought 2 large size shirts. Brother, eat some damn freaking steaks and some biscuits and shit. He was looking malnourished when you came out. Am I lying though?
Roman's already faced Goldberg. There's no reason for him to go through that again. And Lashley, if you want to solidify him, if you're apparently trying to make him this beast, you have to have someone that's comparable for him to then beat. The only other thing you do is just have Big E beat Lashley at SummerSlam. So then that way you have a title change.
Yep.
But because you're going to probably, from the setup, you're going to get Seth versus Edge. So that's another name, event draw. So, I mean, here's the thing. You want to shit all over Cena. Remember, the fans just fucking hated him. And here you are, your first pay-per-view, your second live show back in front of an audience. And that fucking crowd reaction was probably one of the biggest things that you'll ever fucking hear.
Yeah.
So, you know what? You can be all pissy about it, but the truth is that shit worked because it sold.
Yeah, business-wise, it was a sound decision. I just shared my opinion, and I'm not huge on wanting to see Cena. That's just for me. I'm sure there's others who agree.
Well, you can't see him anyway, so don't worry about it.
It's true.
So with that, you guys, the next big pay-per-view will be SummerSlam, Saturday, August 21st, Allegiant Stadium right here in Las Vegas. How exciting, guys, to have an event this huge in our town.
The coolest thing about it, brother, is the fact that, honestly, the greatest thing is those people who were at the Garth Brooks concert will still be at the stadium for SummerSlam.
Oh, God.
You know what's sad, though? You so right, because I've heard so many bitches and complaints about that Garth Brooks concert.
Yeah, if you guys want to know more information on what we're talking about, just look up Garth Brooks Allegiant Stadium and just have with it. A lot of things didn't go right. And hey, they're trying to figure it out, all right? This is our first time having a football stadium. They don't know what they're doing. That's why, thank you, Garth, for taking one for the team. So when Vince McMahon roll in there, we're going to be ready to go. We're going to be perfect, okay? So you got time. Garth took one for the team, man. Even I heard his sound wasn't that good. People who were sitting in the 200 level. 200 level was pissed. I'm like, my Lord. But anyway, all right. Well, that is Money in the Bank. Overall, good show, I think. I think you guys would agree. But we got to talk about Saturday. We had another pay-per-view, and it was Impact's Wrestling Slammiversary, Fight TV. I got a chance to watch that. I did email customer service for a partial refund, but I don't know if they're going to give me that partial refund. Let's talk about the show, though. It did start off with the Knockouts Tag Team title. Fire and Flavor going against Rosemary and Havoc, which is pretty much the Team Decay. And man, Fire and Flavor, they couldn't hold on this time. They lost those titles to Rosemary and Havoc. They held it for a long time. I mean, they ran it for about a good 6 months, then they had lost it, then they picked them right back up and ran another good time. So shout out to Kiera and Tasha. They did their thing, but it looked like they're going to, we'll see where they go from there. Now that they're no longer the knockout title. But that's how they kicked off the pay-per-view to get people to order. And what did they start off with? Of course, the X Division Championship match. Anytime, by the way, if Sin City, I know you read up on some things, so feel free if you want to comment. Simon Street, I know you didn't get a chance to watch it. And I know Michael's got a chance to see some of that and read up on it. So as you guys feel free, jump in. X Division Championship, it was great. You never go wrong with X Division. You know, that's how they kicked off the show. And it was, again, it was a lot of spots, but some very interesting ones. Of course, they had the belt up high, and they had the X, I forget, what do they call that? What do they call it with the ropes going across?
Ultimate X.
Ultimate X, yes. They had that whole thing set up, and there were a couple of times where, you know, you had someone like, Josh that's at the top of that rope and somehow being put in a submission, you know, on the mat with Bay and PD. I mean, you're looking at this like, how are they pulling this off? Just great overall spots in wrestling. And that, of course, your champion for that, still Josh Alexander. He's been an awesome champion. One thing I had mentioned was when in the North, to me, he didn't get a chance to stand out as much because, you know, Ethan Page was there and he's just, when he's on camera, he's just a beast. But now Josh has really got a chance to show himself as being a great wrestler as he is, man. And I don't have a problem of him being the champion, and he's been holding his weight on that. So that was definitely a good match to talk about. Now, everything else after that, it was just a matter of who's going to pop up. Okay. They don't really care about what other, how the match was going to end. It was just who's going to team up with who. So there was a match where you had Brian Myers and Tennille Dashwood versus Matt Cardona and who? Chelsea Green. Yes, Chelsea Green, Impact Wrestling came in for that. And of course, you're going to put those two together, right?
Yeah. So what you didn't realize is that Chelsea Green was on the ROH pay-per-view the week before. She's actually in ROH for, for the time being.
Yeah.
However, the state of Maryland, they have an athletic commission still that oversees wrestling. So she wasn't allowed to wrestle with the cast on her hand. So being that they were in Nashville didn't have the same, restrictions. So she was able to do the match. And so it wasn't like hey, she's an Impact permanently or anything like that. But man, you talk about someone who, if you want to question what AEW is thinking, why didn't she just roll the truck up to her? She would have been worth it, because that's someone who could actually probably hang with Britt Baker. So,
yeah,
I don't know. We'll see. Maybe she's driving her price up by going to ROH and making other appearances. So,
yeah, absolutely. They did have a impromptu match with Shera and Madman Fulton. They wasn't on the card originally, but when they came out, it ended up being a match between them and Finn Juice. So of course they came in and Finn Juice quickly just wrapped up that that match real quick, and then it was on to the next. Now there was the tag team titles. Yeah, Willie Mack and Rich Swann followed by. And he had a special guest we'll talk about in a minute. We had the Good Brothers and then Violent by Design. So who are going to be the tag team champs? Well, we got to figure out who's Fallah Bahh tag team partner, because TJP was not able to do it. And it was No Way.
No Jose.
There you go. So yes, he was there, and I was like, okay. My question about having him is it just looked like he was just, like out of shape. Now I'm a person that really can't talk about anybody being out of shape, but my God, he just seemed like he gave up, and just since he would let go, he was just eating Twinkies for this long time, and just said, okay, fuck it, I'm ready. Y'all ready for me?
Oh, shit.
So I don't know, man. His look, and then they ran with the same gimmick. So he comes out, they run with everyone dressed up in these costumes and doing the whole conga line and whatever. The winner of that was, of course, the Good Brothers. They are your tag team champions, of course, right? Why not? Now you can run the belts over there to that old AEW now, right? You can just, why does Impact have belts? They just shouldn't even have belts.
There are apparently props they don't need.
Here's the thing, though. Impact is the Good Brothers are Impact contracted wrestlers.
I know. I get that. I get that.
No, I'm just saying, like that. No, they are on the roster. So
yeah, well, they're the only contracted wrestlers that they were allowed to go to AEW because of the deal they struck up.
Which is absolutely stupid, but
right.
Well, see, that's the whole thing. There's still this misconception that it was a talent exchange, and the doors are open and the forbidden. It was so Callis could be allowed to work AEW, and his contract was coming up anyway. So they struck up a deal for exposure, and it's backfiring on Impact, unfortunately.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, we did have that. Now we had the women's knockout title match as well, and it was Deonna Purrazzo versus Thunder Rosa. Yeah, Thunder Rosa showed up as well for Impact, and Deonna is still your knockouts women's champion. So like I've been saying, Deanna's been putting in that work, and
Oh, I
I
had
don't
to
care.
listen to this. Oh, fuck.
I don't care what Matt Michaels say. Deanna is doing the thing, and she is showing to be a true champion. Shout out to you, Deanna. All right, you held it down. But of course, after that match, that did bring somebody to the ring. Big shocker.
I know this car. I know this part.
Okay, go ahead.
Hardcore country. That's something. Because that was her original song when she was on Impact.
All right, that's right. Mickey James came back, and I tell you, the greatest part of that whole interchange between the two is with Deanna told her to get the hell out of here and take her trash bag with her. Come on, I love it. As you say, Sin City continuity, and I love it.
Gotta love it.
You know, and you all once again should be thanking Vince McMahon for this. Because if he doesn't do that, if the company doesn't do that, there is no trash bag. Mickey James' relevancy is
Should we be thanking Vince McMahon or should we be thanking Mark
right.
Carrano?
Yeah,
exactly.
Carrano, the one to fuck that up.
Yeah.
Didn't know about that shit, nor did he care.
Either way. You know?
Yeah. So, and then of course we get to the main event: Kenny Omega versus Sami Callihan. And you know, we all kind of knew where this was going to go. We didn't know how it was going to come about. I thought, of course, it was going to be the Good Brother that was going to come, or maybe even somehow the Young Bucks just showed up. We knew it was going to be an interference in some way. But interestingly, before we get to that, I will say, you know, shout out to using all of the props. I mean, they had a barbed wire chair, trash cans, what was those what are those pins?
What?
Thumbtacks. I'm sorry, I couldn't think of it for a minute. Just all types of just things, and you know, Kenny, he went through it. Again, I knew he wasn't going to be, he was going to still come out on top, but Sammy did, I think, show that, hey, he could be a little bit crazy one in the ring, and he has some pretty good spots using those props. So anyway, all that took place, and of course, Kenny Omega did come out on top, okay? And that caused, at the very end, for someone to come out. Are you ready, Simon Street?
Am I ready?
And who ended up coming out? New Japan.
Hardcore country. I don't know.
Oh, stop it.
You asking me shit I don't know.
New Japan, Mr. Bullet Club, Mr. King Switch, Jay White comes out. Now, what's very interesting is, of course, he comes to the ring. This is at the time where Kenny's now got his belt in the ring with Don Callis, with the Good Brothers, and they're all doing the Too Sweet hand signal. And now they're ready for Jay White to go ahead and give that signal to say, hey, we're all brothers. And what happens? The signal goes out. And what was so interesting about that is, you know, the announcers, which was Stryker and D'Lo, I mean, they're having a conversation as if, you know, they weren't trying to wrap things up. They were still talking as if, you know, this is happening. And the signal just, boom. It just dropped. Now, of course, a few seconds later, it did say, hey.
Well, not seconds.
Oh.
No, it was a good period of time. It was so.
Yeah, go ahead.
The question is, did their signal drop out? And then did they have enough time to put up the screenshot that basically the bars go up, like the feed was like the pay-per-view like just went off the air, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then it after a few seconds of that, then it goes black. And it goes black to the point where you kind of question if your whole system just went out, right? And it waits and it waits. And then there was a title card that came up and it said something to the extent of Impact Wrestling, thanks you for watching, Slammiversary, with the copyright date, that kind of thing. So it seems like it was planned. Apparently what happened after it went off the air is that Jay White took out, I don't know who it was. It was one of the Finns or Juices.
Yeah. So, so pretty much what the fans had said, that Finn Juice ran down to the ring and attacked White, but he ended up hitting David Finlay with Blade Runner before getting to safety. So let me ask you, Sin City, what's your take? Because I'm familiar with the name Jay White, but in all transparency, I don't know much about him. Like I said, I'm just familiar with the name for this past year. What can we expect having him show up on Impact and even this whole confrontation that happened at the end of the show?
I think it's really interesting that you have a former leader of the Bullet Club standing face to face with the current leader of the Bullet Club. So Kenny Omega was kicked out of the Bullet Club when he left New Japan.
Okay.
So he was taken out. And so call it what you will. The Good Brothers obviously left the Bullet Club. So where do we stand? Are we, just welcoming them back with open arms? To be honest, when I heard that this confrontation happened, immediately I went and I looked for the footage and I saw what I saw, but I'm gonna check out Impact. I'm gonna start checking out Impact because this storyline is multi-layered and I'm hoping that things are, again, continuity is upheld. So we'll see what happens, but I'm definitely, my interest is piqued. Let's just say that.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Well, good stuff. I mean, overall, it was their pay-per-view, Slammiversary. Of course, they sell it as you never know who's going to show up. And of course, we named who was going to show up. Outside of the X Division and I guess the main event, it was almost like your regular Thursday show, to be completely honest with you. But it's Impact. I mean, I guess I'd only expect so much, and I guess I didn't really expect too much than what I got out of it. But that was the pay-per-view this past weekend. So we'll see where we go from there. I will tell you is what was promoted though was October 23rd, Bound for Glory. Once again, Las Vegas. I mean, isn't it great to be in our town now, man? We got football that want to come here. There's basketball want to come here. Baseball looking to come here, and wrestling is looking to come here. I love it.
Come on in.
Come on in.
Bring it all.
That's right. So hopefully we'll get a chance to be a part of that. Just stay tuned as we know more information of them coming into Vegas. But that's awesome. October 23rd, Bound for Glory. Okay.
You know what?
Go ahead.
It just hit me.
Yeah.
Let's hope that they're not the cursed company, because it was them who were supposed to be running the pay-per-view when lockdown started. So let's
That's
hope.
True. Right. That is true.
Please don't bring the curse.
All right. I know we're going a little bit over overtime, but let me go with you, Sin City. Maybe you could give us a little bit of some highlights. I know there's been 2 weeks of sort of a TV pay-per-view with AEW, but just give us some highlights on just what's been happening and where we at and your take on it.
Sure. So one thing that AEW has continued to do is they might as well own the trademark to kicking off the show with a solid match every single week. This past week, they did it again. Moxley defending the IWGP US Championship against the Machine Gun Carl Anderson. solid match. I felt like as if I was watching a New Japan match. Things were a little bit stiff. And yeah, the guys worked a little bit more snugly. It was a solid match. Nothing that was eye popping, nothing that was, crazy good. But just a solid match. Great to get things back. And, as we saw tonight with WWE, having live fans back just adds so much to the product, man. It really does. That, and then obviously we did see the latest chapter this past week in the Team Taz saga as Brian Cage put the FTW championship on the line against Ricky Starks. Even though it's not really a recognized championship, he still put the championship on the line. Whatever. And
so
yeah.
So you're telling me AEW had 2 belts that were defended that were not their titles?
That is correct.
All right.
That is correct.
NWA Women's Championship didn't kind of show up either, did it?
Maybe next week.
Camille showing up soon?
Maybe. Who knows? But yeah, Ricky Starks did win that match due to Powerhouse Hobbs actually clocking Brian Cage with the FTW championship. So it looks like as if there was some chicanery and some fuckery going on there at the end of that one. So obviously Brian Cage is now officially out of Team Taz. So yeah, that's like I said, the latest chapter in that saga. And then something that occurred last week and also carried over into this week. The first couple of appearances in AEW of Malachi Black. So the artist formerly known as Aleister Black in the WWE. Last week he came out and he kicked the shit out of Arn Anderson. And I have to give Arn Anderson props for the way that he spun the microphone as he was falling to the canvas. Seriously, if go look up the clip on YouTube, the way that Arn threw the mic in the air as he got kicked made the entire spot. It was awesome. Great work by Arn Anderson on that. And then he kicked Cody as well. This past week, Cody came out, in his white suit, all pissed off, and they had a face-to-face. They brawled. So tell me if you've heard this one before. Former WWE guy goes to AEW and immediately is thrust into a program with Cody Rhodes. I guess. Yeah, let's just hope that, Cody doesn't bury Malachi Black as he did with other former WWE signees.
Well, yeah.
And I mean, outside of that, this past week, there was a coffin match between Ethan Page and Darby Allin. Pretty solid match, pretty brutal. And obviously, as anyone would guess, Darby Allin did get the win as he did throw Ethan Page into the coffin. There were a couple of spots. Ethan Page hit Darby Allin with a pretty sick powerbomb off the top rope onto the steel stairs in the ring. So yeah, the pretty brutal shot. And then Darby, after he put Ethan Page, in the coffin, for some fucking unknown reason, he decides to do a coffin drop onto the coffin and break the fucking thing. So it was a wooden coffin, but
Did you catch the once again AEW's amazing camera work where as soon as he went through the coffin and they get the shot, you just see Ethan just totally on his side with his hand protecting his head from the shreds and everything. It was like,
well, bro, like you got to think like he's jumping through the top of the coffin, which is going to splinter and break.
I have no problem with that. I mean, the theory, right? What I'm saying is, why that camera angle? It's
again, you would have thought that they would have learned their lesson from the Jericho debacle.
Right. Just because that's what kills the suspension of disbelief. On top of that, the other thing that really, really was, so evident again. Darby Allin looks like a kid versus a guy like the size of Paige. So that's going to be something that I mean, how far do you go with them in believing that this could be a face of your company outside of him just continue to do the skater gimmick? And, you know,
it's all that I'll say is, Dynamite did have over 1 million viewers this past week, which is awesome. They went up against the NBA Finals, and one of the highest rated segments of the entire show was that coffin match with Darby Allin. It continually, it's one thing for us to sit here and ask those questions, which you're completely valid in your questioning, without a doubt. However, his segments week in and week out tend to be some of the highest rated segments on the show, if not the highest rated. The only one that's beating him on a regular basis is Britt Baker, who is quickly becoming one of the most over baby faces, even though she's a heel.
She's not a heel anymore.
Not anymore.
They turned her this week.
If they're smart, they continue this and just keep her a baby face and just, strap the rocket to her back, just let her hold that title and let her be a baby face for the foreseeable future, for sure.
The question though is Darby getting the ratings because he's good, or is Darby getting the ratings because he's one of the few characters, same with Britt, that they've actually invested something in that mean anything to people?
I think it's a mix of both. I think that it's because obviously they're fleshing out his gimmick and developing the persona for him, but also I think that people are naturally drawn to him because he does have a look that's unlike any other wrestler in the game right now.
Well, Thunder Rosa.
Well, you know what I'm saying though. He has a very unique look. Yeah. Also, he is willing to do crazy fucking weird shit because he will put his body on the line. Mm-hmm. And as we've all learned by watching wrestling for numerous years, what was the biggest draw in most cases during times like the Attitude Era or Crash TV eras? The people that are willing to do the most outlandish shit. So I think they do have a recipe for success. Now, do I think that they'll put the main championship on Darby Allin and let him have that for a while? No. And I sincerely hope that they don't do that. But I have no problem with him, main eventing episodes of Dynamite, doing certain things. And especially if the reports are true that Kenny Omega is winding down his career because he is in so much pain week in and week out. He doesn't need to defend his championship every single week. And furthermore, I was just going to say, furthermore, the Impact needs to get that championship off of him as soon as possible, because I guarantee that his mileage is running thin as a result of continually abusing his body the way that he does in those matches.
And that's the thing I was just going to say. If you figure in what he did last night, or whatever you're listening to this, against Sami Callihan, it was just speechless, because it's really funny. The idea, I don't think he's the greatest wrestler in the world. Okay. Because of what you're saying. And that is, he definitely is getting to the point where I think he's breaking down, to the point of, we can't see it. But there's so many more segments now on AEW, where he's just, in there cutting promos or, having conversations. So hopefully he, let's end the whole cleaner bit. Let's just finish it, guys, and allow him to kind of step away, so he doesn't have to necessarily decide to retire, and maybe just take an extended period of time off. Final thought though for you, Steve, in talking about the ratings attractions, Do you think that it's killing MJF that he's continuously been in this fucking thing with Jericho and they're not moving on? Have fans just gone,
I think it is definitely hurting him. I really do wish that they would. I ultimately what I'm, again, fantasy booking, whatever. The key thing is that AEW needs to get the championship off of Omega. So what's going to happen? They're going to put the title on to Hangman Page at All Out. I mean, that's, anyone with half a brain can see that coming from a mile away. That will allow Omega to rest and do whatever he needs to do. But also at that time, that's where you can start to groom MJF, not necessarily groom MJF, but put MJF into that role of being the next major contender for Hangman Page. And ultimately the person that will take the title from Hangman Page, maybe 6 months down the road.
Yeah. I mean, at least just get him out of this, this repetitive, it feels like Groundhog Day with, how much more can those guys do? It's bad. And you just brought up a very good point too. There is a chance that Hangman Page, let's say he gets the AEW championship, or let's say they go with someone else. And apparently the show's on fire tonight.
So it's ready.
But there's a possibility that Kenny Omega loses that belt, but still has the Impact belt. So therefore, Impact will still have no champion before AEW's belt moves.
It's crazy, man. It's absolutely crazy. Yeah, I think that obviously they're doing the five pillars of Jericho, or whatever the fuck they're calling it. And that's all starting next week. And then I think what'll happen is, all that stuff will happen. Jericho will make it through all the way until he gets his match with MJF. And then he will lose to MJF with the contract stipulation possibly being that Jericho has to walk away. Which that truly wouldn't surprise me, because keep in mind, Fozzy is touring later this fall.
Right. And it would be a good setup, especially too, because he's going to need that time with all the stuff going on with the cruise. And
yes,
there's just a lot of stuff. Personally, honestly, the week before he did commentary, can we just make him a commentator and get rid of JR or Tony? And
you can't hate on Shavante. Come on.
It's not hate as much that I think that Tony's role, honestly, I like him better in the Mean Gene Okerlund role.
Yeah.
Now at this point in his career.
Yeah.
Especially because Marvez is just unwatchable. That guy, I get it. He's friends.
Well, he also has a contract.
Well, yeah.
So once Marvez's contract is up, it's a foregone conclusion he's done, because when they brought him in, he was going to be their main play-by-play guy until he just stank up the joint so bad that they pulled him off of TV. If you remember, once his contract's up, he's gone. I guarantee it.
Well, shout out to Chris who says, "Can we just get rid of Excalibur instead?"
Oh, that's not bad.
No, let's face it, honestly.
Excalibur, if you just take off his mask, why don't you do that for me? If you take off the mask, I'll let you continue to talk. He just looks so stupid with the mask on in a commentator.
Yeah, but DJ, now just don't focus on just his looks. Now listen to what he says, and you'll understand why Chris is saying that.
Not wrong.
Right. Man, hey, we can keep going if you want, man, because we're going to hit OT. Do you got more Sin City, or are we going to jump to NXT?
I'm good, brother. I tried to be as concise, covering 2 weeks of AEW as I could. So,
okay, no doubt. Thanks, man. Simon Street, let us know what's going on, man. I know we had the Great American Bash. We don't have to go through all the matches, but just highlight the importance of things you saw, not only during that event, but coincide with this past Wednesday show. Was it Wednesday? Or Tuesday show.
To be honest
so go
with
ahead,
you,
man.
this Wednesday to me was a hell of a lot worth more mentioning.
Okay, let's
And
do
a
it.
lot of surprise guests in Great American Bash. I got to be completely honest with you.
Okay.
There's a
What?
lot of yeah.
Wow.
Just be
Wow.
honest.
Okay. All right.
What stood out in your mind for Great
The
American
whole
Bash?
bash card was probably one of the best things they've done in a long time. Listen, here, really quick.
Let's do it.
The bash results. MSK versus Ciampa and Thatcher kicks it off. LA Knight, Cameron Grimes. Then Shirai and Stark beat the way for the titles, and Cole versus O'Reilly. Probably one of the best cards they did for a 2-hour show that you can put together. That's pretty fucking solid.
And there's not much to say with that. I mean, everybody already knows the results, so that's why I figured I just would go into this week, because a lot of stuff trickled from that into this week. So I appreciate that as we cut forward on time. This week was interesting because a lot of different results. The biggest thing that was poignant was actually the big matchup for the NXT title, Karrion Kross versus Johnny Gargano. That was the big highlight, of course. Joe wanted everybody to know what his role was.
Mm-hmm.
Which honestly, if you watched it, you knew that what that was going to foreshadow. The writing was on the wall. But a lot of cool things. People just popping up out of nowhere. Beautiful ass Mandy Rose. And interesting enough, her being there during the segment with Robert Stone and, that whole thing that went up. She was out on stand. And I was like, wow, why is Mandy Rose here? Apparently, she is back. Even Twitter responses and everything. She is actually back in NXT. So happy for that. Happy to see what capacity she's going to be in, what she's going to do. So that was pretty exciting. Another thing that was really good, too, which is worth mentioning, something that I was actually looking forward to following and glad we got to see it, was the 2021 NXT Breakout Tournament. I was excited when they were naming a lot of the people that would be competing in it. Some names I'm familiar with, some names I'm not familiar with, and that's just exciting. I like the last one that they did, not last year, but the year before last, 2019. This one we got to see Duke Hudson and Ikeme Jiro. That was a good match. That was a really good match. I was a little worried about Jiro because he went, he did like a back, like some somersault or something like that off the back, and it looked like he really tweaked his ankle at first. I was wondering, but ended up. Duke ended up going over in that one. So I'm interested to see what happens with those matchups as we go along. I always like seeing fresh new faces, so it should be exciting. I don't know if you guys got a chance to see it when they announced it, not last week, obviously, but the week before last, they had mentioned the gentleman, and that was a lot of fun. Another big thing that was interesting enough that I stood out in my mind that I really enjoyed watching was obviously seeing Gigi Dolan. To my knowledge, this was her first in-ring here in NXT.
No, seriously, did you watch her in ring? Her in ring was bad.
I'm gonna get to that. Let me get into that. I like how certain people have a persona. You get excited about them, but when you see them get in there with certain competitors, it just doesn't flash out. I feel like she could have done better if she wasn't going against Sarray. I'm just being completely honest. I feel like they didn't mesh well together. It seemed very awkward. I think it was very apparent to tell how awkward it was. We'll see what happens, whoever she gets matched up with. Outside of what we saw in the ring, I do like what she brings to the table so far before that match happened. I hope the best for her. We'll see what the hell happens. Let's be honest with that. Other thing that was really interesting that I really like too is after Dexter Lumis and Santos Escobar match, obviously Santos Escobar came over. The interaction that they had with Hit Row, that's pretty interesting because we're definitely going to see some stuff happening between them. I'm hoping it's 3-on-3, and then they mix it up a little bit. Obviously, probably some single matches in between some of the members of each one of those crews. But ultimately, definitely going to be seeing Escobar go for that shot with the North American title with Swerve Sky. I am very interested to see that match when that does come up. I think those two in the past have worked together when Swerve went for the Cruiserweight championship when Escobar had it. And it was one of the better matches that I saw. So when that does come about, that's going to be fire. It's going to be very interesting. Some of the other things that, I mean, as we get close to the end of the night that I thought was interesting is the whole Robert Stone brand. That whole debacle toward the end is interesting. Obviously, you know, that group looks like it's just going to be just done. I don't know what NXT's plan is with Robert Stone or whatever the case may be, but it looked like, you know, that is done. You know, just done. Which for me, I'm kind of happy about it because I think we were all kind of getting tired of that. I don't know if y'all felt the same week in and week out. I just felt like it wasn't going anywhere. I feel like they lost steam 2 weeks into the whole Robert Stone brand, just to be honest. So that's just how I felt. That's just how I felt. I felt like it could have been cool. Then 2 weeks in was about a year and a half ago or a year ago when he first started.
Is it Robert Stone or is it the fact that the Aaliyah is just god awful and she's getting her shot up on the main roster most likely so that she can
we
go
all
in and
know
get
that.
beat on the road?
Yeah. We all know that.
I can't believe that Aaliyah and Mandy Rose are trading places. Legitimately, like Aaliyah is full-time Raw and Mandy Rose is full-time NXT.
And yeah, well, that's again, it's for the road, and I think that one of the reasons. Listen, they made a smart move because you pull Mandy Rose before she goes out onto the road, so you can give her a little more seasoning.
That's what I was about to say.
And then get her back out. I think that, and honestly, there was a reason Vince went to NXT. And it's because of the fact that he knew everyone's going to be going on the road. They're going to have people getting injured left and right. There's no doubt. So he needs jobbers and he needs people who will be able to step up when people get hurt. And he needs a shitload of people that are going to be able to get cut in 6 months or so from now, 6 to 8 months.
And I hate to say it, that's going to be Aaliyah. There are some people that, and I hate to say it because Aaliyah, you know, has a very captivating story. If you followed NXT for a long time, she's been there. She's considered an NXT veteran, and it's unfortunate, you know. Can she survive in the waters of the main roster? I don't think so. Yeah, I hate to say it, I don't think so. But hey, you know, if she can job out, fine, great. Earn your living, get on the main roster. You never know, you might get a break. I mean, we've seen some people we probably have doubted before that we was like, man, they're not going to survive, and they've actually stuck around much longer. You know what I mean? So, I mean, you never know. I mean, all it takes is one shot, and you're in the right place at the right time. So
if she doesn't make it, you know, within those 6 months, it's just another person that Deonna Purrazzo can take down. Wow. Sorry, man. Continue. I apologize for that.
No. You didn't apologize, man. But, you know, let's get to the main event. The main event was really, really good. Karrion Kross versus Johnny Gargano. Obviously, the referee was Samoa Joe. I mean, that was a good match. It was everything that I wouldn't say hope for in a match, but it was entertaining. The biggest thing for me, and y'all can probably answer the same thing, I was just wondering when Joe was going to put hands on Kross and when Kross was going to put hands on Joe. To me, that was more of the focus of the match. Who was actually going to win, you know, the match in general. I mean, I think we all knew that Karrion Kross was still going to be NXT champion at the end of the night. There's no question, right? But did y'all not watch that match and was waiting for that to happen? And then when the match finished, you're like, oh, shit, man, I want to see that shit go down. And then it finally did. And I was like, fucking thank you. You know, so that's going to be interesting to see what all hell is going to break loose, obviously, on NXT next week. Very interested to see what's Joe's capacity going to be because he was obviously brought in as a commissioner of some sorts. And so what happens now? There was always that clause, which has been said week and week after, he's authorized to protect himself at all times, but you've already been attacked going into 1 week.
He's not supposed to be provoked. Don't provoke him.
But he was provoked. I mean, shit, at what point when somebody is choking your ass out, that's provocation.
Yeah.
So what happens next week?
don't be surprised if you see something close to the idea of if Karrion Kross wants to face Samoa Joe to settle the score, he has to vacate the title.
I like the sound of
because that is how you get them up to the main roster without ever losing the belt.
That's very interesting. I actually would like that.
DJ Impact, where is SummerSlam taking place?
SummerSlam, Las Vegas.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Also, too, before I finish with NXT, one thing to look out for, it's going to be interesting. More because I'd like to see her kick and knock out Raquel Gonzalez, if she can reach that high, is Xia Li. She wants a shot at the belt. And that's going to be interesting because I never have seen the size difference between the two, because Xia Li is a little bit shorter than Dakota Kai. And so she's really short compared to, I mean, it's almost like AJ Styles and Omos. Size difference almost. So that's going to be an interesting matchup.
Did you just basically say that
she's a little shorty thing?
No.
She'll kick you and knock you out.
No, but did you just basically say that what's her face? Raquel's
Dakota Kai.
Dakota Kai. So she's got her own personal Amazon.
Basically, she basically does. I mean, let's be real right here.
Oh Lord.
and real quick, I like Dakota Kai's face that she makes when she's just pissed off. It's like she smelled some stinky ass shit. Like she has the best resting bitch face ever in the business. Like love Dakota Kai. She had a real good match too, but that's all I really got with NXT. I mean, it was just really good.
Okay.
Obviously, hold on. No, Matt Michael's going to tell me. No. The best part that you forgot about was the whole segment that happened all throughout the show with Cameron Grimes, LA Knight. Let me tell you, Cameron Grimes was the most positive butler I've ever seen in my whole entire fucking life. That man right there is what America needs. We need people to go in and have the most horrible tasks and just put a smile on your face. And no matter what happens to you, you just go out and you do the best you can. And that's what Cameron Grimes did. That was a very amazing segment. And I like how they did each part. Cameron Grimes is the king on NXT of having these segments in between. I love this. These segments are way a lot better than what he had with Dexter Lumis. Remember that time he got kidnapped and shit? Yeah, that was hard to watch. But this shit was amazing.
Good stuff. Thank you very much for that, Simon Street. I'm just gonna briefly, I'll be completely honest, ROH Best in the World. I know I've read up on it. It was a great show. I didn't get to see any of it. Matt Michaels, yes, I know you did. And I'm gonna let you talk about it, but let me just mention, well, I'll tell you what, I'll just wait till you get to it. Because the only thing I was gonna mention was the ROH World Championship. I'm quite shocked. Can't wait to see how all that came the way it is. What's your take on the show, man? Now you got a chance to see the best in the world. ROH was back.
Yeah, I mean, just short of what the WWE put on in terms of their show tonight, this was the best show without a doubt in terms of what was being run in pay-per-views. A lot of the early stuff was good stuff. EC3 defeating Flip Gordon. Flip is, transformed into a nice heel. You have the Briscoes beating Brian Johnson, PJ Black. Look out for Brian Johnson. He is going to be very, very impactful in ROH going forward. Shane Taylor Promotions retains their titles, the 3-man titles. Josh Woods beats Silas Young in one hell of a tough match, and that was Last Man Standing. So that was a really good way to kind of end that whole storyline. But what was really impressive was You had Brody King defeating Jay Lethal, and Jay Lethal. Who likes him anyway?
Whatever.
But Jonathan Gresham, he retains the pure.
The guy's a beast.
Well, he was even more of a beast to go. Literally, it was 19 minutes and 21 seconds, and then not the next match, but a match later. So, and the match after was Dragon Lee defeating Tony Deppen for the television title, and that was a 10-minute match.
Right.
So Gresham wrestles 20 minutes, gets a 10-minute break, and then comes out and loses the tag team champs, him and Titus.
Yeah.
Red Titus versus Chris Dickinson and Homicide, and anyone who doubts Chris Dickinson. Homicide I can give or take, but Chris Dickinson, fuck, man.
He's the fucking
there's a potential champion, heavyweight champion in their future. But yeah, Bandito Rouge was, talk about two guys who put on a fucking match. The quality of matches on that show going into this match were already big, and it was it was exactly what they needed. The last 3 matches of the show were all title changes, so they literally planned it out to kind of had your feuds that were ending, build a little bit, and then getting to 3 championship changes in a row. I don't think that the fans in the arena even saw that coming. And you know what? In comparison to, in looking at what Impact did, the Impact audience was all together, and it was 100 people maybe or so in a group up close, right? With ROH, it looked good because they potted it out where you had empty seats, but it was just such a much bigger scope in comparison. So even in just the look of their show versus what Impact put on, it was a better quality look. So you know what? Again, the problem with ROH is that I don't think enough people are looking at that company right now. Everyone's so hyped about AEW, and I think that people are still kind of blowing off ROH because of the fact that the Bucks and Cody left it, as feeling that that is the reason. Oh, well, we shouldn't watch that because obviously it's not as good as those guys didn't stick around. On top of it, they started their own company, so we'll support that. Whereas Ring of Honor right now is probably, along the lines behind NXT as, possibly the best just product out there in terms of wrestling matches. And again, I know AEW, the problem with AEW is just there's not a consistency between, Cody Rhodes, wrestling this guy and that guy, and it's like, why? And then you have a good match, so there's a balance of good and bad. ROH, there was nothing bad on that card, which is surprising.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, listen, don't let the excuse be like, well, I don't know when they come on or what channel they come on. You just have to find out where Sinclair Broadcasting comes on in your area, and you'll get that 1 hour of that particular show. I mean, unlike Impact Wrestling, where there's a really good chance you may not have access to access, you more likely will have access to some sort of Sinclair broadcast. So, yeah, I mean, I've been talking about it every week as much as ROH is exciting, and now, Matt, you got a chance to see this pay-per-view. This is what people's been missing, and they've been putting on this type of show, 1 hour. 2 matches every week. And it's even to the point where if you don't know what's going on, the great thing about the 1 hour show is that they have a great breakdown. I mean, ROH do a great job with storytelling before the matches. They do just as good as WWE at times, where you might not know what's happening, but they break it down to a point where within that short segment, you'd be like, oh, I get it. Okay.
You can now too. I think they just started. Quinn McKay is hosting on their YouTube channel, I think on Tuesdays, I believe it is. It literally is like a kind of a what's going on in ROH type of show. So,
absolutely.
You can get caught up on everything very easily. I think that, what's interesting when you look at SCU and the Bucks and Cody, they were all at ROH. Why the hell they didn't strike up basically a feeder deal with ROH it's inconceivable.
Yeah, good points. If you didn't get a chance to see it, I'm pretty sure you can just go onto their website and you can still order that particular pay-per-view, and it's worth watching and checking out. And then just continuing from there, ROH is doing some good things over there, and give them a chance. I'm guaranteed that you will end up liking it. A little bit on New Japan. I couldn't find too much because the main news in City, of course, that was all over the sites was, of course, Jay White showing up at Impact Wrestling. But I did find that on July 25th at the Tokyo Dome, a big major show, the Wrestle Grand Slam, I guess it's been in the works now. And the biggest planned event is supposed to be Shingo Takagi for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship against Kota Ibushi, but I guess we're not exactly sure if it's going to happen because Kota has been having some issues with the COVID-19 vaccine. So there's a chance this might not happen, but what's your take on this event, the Wrestle Grand Slam, just in general overall? And is there anything to salvage it if for some reason this don't have, and who could take the place? Or do they not go along with it? Do they just postpone it? I mean, what's any reactions?
I mean, realistically, one thing that immediately stood out to me was, if Ibushi is unable to compete, there's a match that same night, and it's Kazuchika Okada versus Jeff Cobb. So.
Okay.
Just obviously, I played Fantasy Booker a little bit earlier. Why not play Fantasy Booker now?
Okay. Yeah.
Why not just roll that into a 3-way and have Takagi put the championship on the line against Okada and Jeff Cobb in a 3-way? Okay. That would be good enough for me, in my humble opinion. And a suitable replacement for Ibushi not being able to compete if he is unable to compete, of course.
Right.
One thing that I do want to just bring up really quickly
please.
Is on the 11th of July, there was a title change that happened. And that was actually LIJ, Los Ingobernables de Japón, Sanada and Tetsuya Naito defeated Zack Sabre Jr. and Taichi for the IWGP Tag Team Championships.
Wow.
So pretty cool there. They had a pretty solid match, about a half-hour long match. And that was the main event of night 2 of the Summer Struggle event that they had. And just with everything that's going on over in Japan and with New Japan, it seems like as if that card was aptly titled, to say the least, Summer Struggle. So, we obviously don't want to make light of any kind of, health concerns or any issues that are going on. However, if anybody's being affected by any of those things right now over in Japan or anywhere, obviously, just keep everybody in your thoughts. But yeah, it's I definitely have to hand it to New Japan management and the Bushi Road ownership group for how they've handled all of these things that have popped up.
Yeah.
We haven't seen any nearly the number of conflicts and issues with talent rosters here in the States as they have over in Japan, knock on wood. But yeah, they're definitely rolling with the punches and doing the best that they can. So you know, definite props goes to that ownership group for sure.
Absolutely. Thanks for that, Sin City, for that. Find out what's going on with New Japan. Next, we were just going to mention to see if there's anything in local wrestling that want to be mentioned. Matt Michaels is popping back on. Simon, you want to, any guy, either one of you, anything in local wrestling you want to mention? All right, go ahead.
Yeah. So pretty much coming up on July 23rd, Friday, July 23rd is FSW's High Octane. It's going to be at the FSW Arena. Bell time is what, 7 o'clock? 7 o'clock. So that's going to be a really good show as usual. So I know myself will be attending, Matt Michaels.
Yeah, it's available on the FSW network as well for $6.99 a month, and you can catch the pre-show that we'll be hosting before the event, starting roughly somewhere around either between 6 or 6:30. I'm not too sure when it will start streaming.
Good. Okay. Thank you. With that, so last thing, we're kind of in on our wrestling talk. We know it's been a tough couple of weeks of kind of losing some of our those that have been in the wrestling industry. I know Matt Michaels will just kind of briefly just kind of mentions we don't want to forget about those who've definitely have paved the way of entertaining, maybe not just us, but other people who have who just enjoy this industry, and we should just don't forget their names. And so, Matt Michaels, let me just give it to you, and you can just let us know, you know, who we should not forget.
Wow. Was there anyone else other than one person?
Yeah, there's only one person. I mean, unless you're counting like celebrities that died this week outside of wrestling.
No, you know, it might just be. Did we mention? You know, and we could have. I just know we've been off for like a week. Go with the one person you know, and then the other person that you'll just let me know if we've already covered that or not. I did see another name. I just didn't remember it.
Well, who is it? Who is it? So I can just, yeah.
I'm finding him out right now. I didn't write it down as you see in our notes. I just, oh, do you not know the one name?
Well, it's Paul Orndorff passed away.
Yeah.
Okay, but is there anyone else?
Well, I was gonna find that name. Did you want to mention it? Okay. You know what?
Yeah,
never mind. Let's just drop it.
I didn't think there was anybody else. That's what I was saying.
No. So bottom line is I didn't have any names down. We are familiar with the one guy. So what I was saying is, if you want to speak up on him, I could then go and try to find who I thought there was someone else.
That's fine. Obviously, Mr. Wonderful was.
Thank you, Chris. Chris also mentioned that's what I was looking for. Chris Wilkes, the Patriot. That was another name.
Oh no, that was Del Wilkes. That's Del Wilkes, the Patriot, and we mentioned him.
We did talk about Del.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you. All right, go ahead.
No, you know what? With Mr. Wonderful, you're looking at the first WrestleMania main event. The fact that him and Piper were able to do a good match with Hogan and Mr. T, especially Mr. T being an untrained professional at that time, showed a lot of skill. Paul was already, very well known from wrestling already in the South primarily. And I think he might have done a stint up in AWA before heading to the WWF. And after WrestleMania, he turned face, and had a feud with Piper that, was played out a little bit. But it ended up setting up Hogan and him as a tag team for the summer of 1986. And right towards the end of the summer, Orndorff turned on Hogan, and everyone builds up Andre's turn. And that would happen in February of 87. But the truth of the matter is that Orndorff's turn made it possible for Andre to turn, because it gave the chance to have Heenan take someone who was supposed to be a Hogan friend and have him turn on him. The next thing they did that was brilliant, and to this day, I don't think many of the pro wrestling, over the years, I don't think many pro wrestlers or organizations have ended up doing this. But the brilliant move was to have Real American playing for Orndorff coming out, and he took ownership of, like, he was the Real American. And I'll tell you, it was 1986 at the Rosemont Horizon, and there was nothing better than that music hitting and seeing Orndorff walk out with Heenan, and then the music hitting again and seeing Hogan walk out, and the contrast between boos and cheers.
Yeah.
It was huge. So that was a big feud. If you go onto the network and you watch, I believe it's the big event that happened in Canada that year in 86. It was just a huge outdoor event, and they were able to pull this off because they had him. And then on top of it, go look up Saturday Night's Main Event. Look up the cage match they did in late 86 on Saturday Night's Main Event. And that was the cage match in which Orndorff, when he came down, Danny Davis, the referee, came down. And Orndorff and Hogan both exited the cage at the same time on opposite ends, with their feet both hitting at the exact same time, which, by the way, talk about timing something fucking perfectly, because they weren't near each other at all. That's still a remarkable feat. Or in this case, 2 feet, or in this case, 4 feet. So, and then Orndorff, went on to basically kind of start winding up his career there in the WWF, and turned face again. As he left, a few years passed, and he hits WCW. And his biggest thing in WCW is he got to really get the best out of a guy named Steve Austin. So
yeah,
that was he did some good stuff in 92, 93-ish. He was always battling the physicalities that he had over the years that wore down on his body, and ultimately ended his in-ring career, and got inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2005. And honestly, he had the little bout with cancer somewhere around 2010-ish, and then he was fine, and it wasn't until recently when apparently he had an acceleration of, I believe it was dementia or Alzheimer's, within the past year or so, that he declined very, very quickly. And about 2 years ago or so, or maybe 3 years at this point, I talked to B. Brian Blair, and Brian said that it was really not a thing that was possible of trying to get an interview with Paul Orndorff, because at that point he was really starting to show signs and start struggling with just, you know, life in general and everything that was going on with his, you know, physical and his mental state. So, you know, this acceleration was quicker, but he had been on a health decline for quite some time. So, someone that, you know, can't be forgotten, someone who absolutely hated Hulk Hogan. You can go back and find the honest opinions that he had on Hogan. And, you know, both being from the Tampa area, they were rivals for years and years and years. And I'm sure that there was some good moments, but, you know, those two just really kind of made a dent in the wrestling world. And, you know, we'll, you know, hopefully not having to be talking about more of these deaths as the year keeps going. So,
yeah. Thank you for that, Matt Michaels. I definitely appreciate that. Guys, that is the end of our wrestling talk. We definitely thank you for hanging out with us and throwing all your comments in the chat. If you're watching us on our live Facebook feed now, we're going to be back in a minute to start recording our 3 count. But if you're listening to us on our podcast, thank you for listening. And don't forget to download the 3 count. We got 3 good topics that's definitely going to have you want to throw in your point of view on those topics. So definitely download that and get a chance to enjoy it. With that, we'll see you next